moments ago, in verse 10 of chapter 3, Ephesians, it says this: His intent, it's God's intent, His intent was that now, through the church, the manifold wisdom of God should be made known to the rulers and authorities in the heavenly realms according to His eternal purpose that He accomplished in Christ Jesus our Lord. Okay, that's quite a statement, isn't it? His intent, God's intention. So God's got an intention. There's something He intends to do, and He intends to do it to some degree even this morning. His intention is that now, through the church, that's us, the manifold wisdom of God should be made known to the rulers and authorities in the heavenly realms, according to His eternal purpose that He accomplished in Christ our Lord. So this making known His manifold wisdom through the church that He wants to do now, that's part of His eternal purpose. Just think about that. From eternity, God's been planning this. Don't you plan something, there's the build up to it, and you plan for it. We've got, as you know, we've got 2 more weddings on the go, we just had one, and there's lots of planning that goes into that, and anticipation. This is God's eternal plan. His intention is that through now, the manifold wisdom of God should be revealed through the church. I think that is quite an awesome thing that statement says, that tells us. And what it means is, if His manifold wisdom is going to be revealed through the church to the authorities and rulers and powers in the heavenly realms, by the way, when it says to, it means up to, as it were. Not just to them, exclusively of everyone and everything else. It's not that He wants to reveal His glory to the heavenly realm, but not to people in the world. But in other words, He wants His glory, the wisdom, the manifold wisdom of His glory, revealed at every level. In the spiritual realms, in the depths of hell, in the glories of heaven, in every nook and cranny of the earth, He wants His glory revealed through the church. And we've got our little patch here in Moulsecoomb. Not only here in Moulsecoomb, but all the networks of relationships that we've got through us, the church. He wants His glory revealed through that, and that's the part that we play. We get to be a part of that. Isn't that amazing? But here, like I said, the amazing thing is that He's planned this through the ages, from eternity, and it's His intention to do it through us. Okay? So we might feel weak and everything else and stuff, but remember, God is with us. And He's absolutely for us as we take steps in keeping with His purpose. We can be sure He'll be with us in that. But if we're going to do that, we need to know, what is His manifold wisdom? Because it doesn't tell us, does it? Not specifically. What is this, that thing that we've got to, that He's given to us to reveal, that He intends to reveal to us? Okay? Now I'm going to, because it's good for us to be able to answer that question fairly clearly, isn't it? If we're a bit woolly about it, it's difficult for us to know, what are we actually meant to be doing? Okay? So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Okay, but it's not a test. Sometimes, when someone asks you a question that can feel like a test, you're scared to get it wrong. It's not a test. It's 2 reasons, okay? The question is this. If you had to choose a most important verse from the Bible, what would it be? Now, before you answer it, okay, well, everyone's answer is going to be different. And so this is where it's not a test. I doubt if any of you are going to get the verse that I've got in mind, okay? So don't feel like you failed because you didn't get it right, okay? Different verses are important to us for different reasons, and perhaps sometimes one verse will be more important to us than another. But what I want to do is for us to think about it first, give a few answers, if you can think of any, and then I'll share with you the answer that I'm going to give you and explain to you the reason why. So, okay, the first question then is, if you had to choose a verse from the Bible, what would it be? And maybe think about why. Anyone, can you think of a verse? Or maybe a passage, go on.
The love of money is the root of every evil.
Right, okay, and why is that the most important verse in the whole Bible in your thinking at the moment?
Because it's very much today, and also the Lord mentioned it even more than hell.
Okay? There you go. Okay, the love of money. Okay? Anyone else got a verse that you would...
Genesis 1:1. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, because that's where all this started.
Wouldn't be anything, we wouldn't be here without that, would we? Okay? Any other?
In the beginning, the word was with God, and God was the word.
Yeah, John chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning was the word with God, and the word was God, yeah. That's the revelation of Jesus. He's what the word of God revealed to us.
So that's what we explained that he is God.
Yeah.
In the beginning, all these,
Anyone else want to... Yeah? No? John 3:16. Yeah? Sorry? Yeah, for God so loved the world, it's the gospel in a nutshell. God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Okay, now, Stacey, can you put up the first verse that I've got? Okay, so this is the verse that I've chosen, and this is the headline for a short series that I'm going to be doing, which I'll call the series Made for Glory. Okay? Or created for glory. Look at what that verse says. For from him and through him and to him are all things, to whom be glory forever. Amen. Okay? And the reason why I say that is that sums up, you could say that sums up everything, anything and everything that you read about in the scriptures, every nook and cranny of life, every part, every facet of your life, all of our experiences, God wants to use them ultimately for his glory. And everything is dependent upon him. Everything is dependent on him. There's nothing in all creation that can, it's, I can't remember who said it, but someone said something along these lines about the atheist. The atheist that denies God depends on the God he denies to give him his breath to deny the God that he denies. It's amazing, isn't it? Even the hardest atheist is utterly dependent upon God to be able to deny God.
That's what they like as well.
That's right, they don't like it. So this is, this sums up everything, I think. Therefore, there's another verse that's really important, which Paul writes in 1 Corinthians. Can we have that one up, Stacey? Where you eat or you drink, or whatever you do, even in the mundane things of life, everything, do it, what? Do it all. That's an important word. Small word, huge meaning, all encompassing. Do it all for the glory of God. So that means, what is it in your life that you can do that you shouldn't be doing for the glory of God? Is there anything that you should do, but that's not for his glory? Is there anything? Okay, let's do a little bit of math to help you, okay? All includes how much?
Everything.
Right, so this is all that we do, we should do for his glory. So is there anything that we should do that isn't for his glory, that shouldn't be for his glory? No, absolutely nothing. There are things that we do that aren't for his glory, but those things we shouldn't do. Or if we do them, we should do them for his glory. Okay? So it's all encompassing. Give both verses up there. So it's the next one, next slide. So, for from him and through him and to him are all things, to whom be glory forever. Amen. Therefore, when you eat or you drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. That could be a rhyme, couldn't it? Okay, that's an easy verse to remember, isn't it? When you eat or you drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. We've got to memorise those verses. Okay, so now, anyone heard, I know some of you will have heard of the Westminster Catechism. There's two, the Great Catechism and the Lesser Catechism. You heard of that? Some of you have, okay? It's actually quite it's a historical document written by the so-called divines. Great men of God wrote this. And it was written to educate uneducated people in the most important things of God. Arguably, when in many ways the church was, just for a season at least, at its best in its history, apart from the New Testament times. So it was during the time of the Reformation or around that, there was a lot of bad stuff in the church as well. But there were elements of the church that were unparalleled in history before that, apart from the New Testament times. Okay? And one of the great things to come out of it was the the Westminster Catechism, Great Catechism. And it begins, it's got a series of questions and answers so that we can learn what are the most important things. Anyone know the first question? I know Brendan, you probably know it. Do you? Okay. The first question is this. And we're going to learn it. We're going to learn not all these, but a few of them. There's like something like 85 questions, but we're going to learn a few of them. Okay? This is an important question. What is the chief end of man? Now, I bet some of you have heard that question now. Yeah, you recognise that, some of you? What is the chief end of man? That's the question. And the answer that it gives is this. The chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. I can't quite remember how it was written in the Old English, but it brilliantly put in Old English. For days everlasting, or something like that, it puts it. Beautifully, yeah, poetically it puts it. But there it is, okay? You know, what is the chief end of man? The chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. Okay, now looking at those, for from Him and through Him and to Him are all things, whom be glory, to whom be glory forever. So you can see this is where they get that question from. Okay, from this verse, an important couple of verses in the Bible. Now let me ask you, let me tell you why, one reason why this verse and these verses are so important, and the reason why this series that we're going to do is actually really important, is this, because this can bring about change, real change. Change in our lives, this verse is a game changer. It really is. Change in our lives, change in the church, change in our families, even change in the community. Okay? It can bring about significant change. How many of us would like to see some change? Okay? Probably all of us, yeah? We'd all like, is that right? Yeah? All of us would like to see some change. Here's what happens, right? Very often, we all want to see change, but we don't actually want to change anything. It's true, isn't it? We all want change, but we don't actually want to change anything very often. And it's like, often people say, I'd love to see the church grow, but they don't want to change anything. But for something to grow, means that what you've got, you lose. You can't keep what you've got and have it grow. So like children, when they're very young, you want them to, they're lovely and they're cute and everything else. Well, that's how you remember them when they're growing up. But then they grow up, and it's great you've got when they've grown up, but you've lost something. You've lost it, it's gone. That little child is gone, and gone forever. And here's the thing, sometimes we love the little child so much, we don't want the child to grow up. But actually, that's a tragedy. Imagine your child never grow. It happens, actually, for some. And so it's a tragedy. But we can love something too much, so we don't want it to change, we don't want anything about it to change. And yet we want change. And that just shows we are conflicted. Okay? Now when you think about change, and you think about the change that you want, by the way, this morning's message is an introductory message, okay, for the rest of the series really, to set us up. So this sort of meat and veg will come a bit later, but, later in the series. But when we think about change, or when you think about change, think about for a moment, what is it? I'm not going to ask you to tell me, because it might be, maybe it's your spouse or something, but if you could change something in your life, what would it be? Okay, just think about it. What are the things that you would like to see change? Okay, can you think of things that you'd like to see change? Maybe it is people. Maybe it's your certain circumstances in life. Yeah, there may be some people where if you could change anything, you'd change your whole life. The life you're living isn't really a life that you've chosen. That would be true for some people. It might not be true for anyone here, but it'll certainly be true for some people, but it might be true for you. It might be that there are certain aspects of your life. Actually you're very happy with your life in general, but there are certain aspects you might like to change. Maybe you'd like to change your work. Maybe that's something you'd like to see changed. Maybe the change is a change in someone else. Maybe someone that doesn't yet know the Lord and you'd love to see them come to know the Lord. There's a change, isn't it? All sorts of things that you might want to see changed. Well, like I say, this series, God's Word, has power to change us and to change our circumstances. Often when we think about change, the thing that we should think about first is ourselves, but that's often the last thing we think about. Oh yeah, that needs to change. Oh, I wish they would change. I wish that would change. And the last thing that we think of, if you think of it, is ourselves. But not always. Sometimes we look at ourselves and think, I just wish I was different. I wish I responded differently to things. I wish I wasn't so the way that I am. We become aware sometimes of the way that we are in certain areas, and we wish that could change. Our dispositions and things like that. So we recognise usually that there's need for change, and as we go through this series, there'll be a call to change, all sorts of things to change. But there are what you might call defeaters for change. In other words, there are things that, I said we want change, but we don't want anything to change. And so there are defeaters, there are things about us that mean that no matter how much we want certain things changed, whether it's about ourselves or our circumstances, we end up not changing. There are certain defeaters, and we're going to just spend a few moments thinking about those, and then we're going to think a little bit more about that verse. Okay, so here's one reason why things don't change. If we happen to like our life as it is, a fair amount, if we've already got a fair amount of things that we generally want in life, then the chances are it's going to be much harder for us to change. Because it means perhaps some of the things that we value, letting go of them or risking them. So if our lives are going reasonably well, if we feel like that, then it's much harder to change than if you're a person who's really dissatisfied with your life and things haven't worked out and you don't like your work and you don't like this and that and everything's a bit rubbish. That person's going to find change much easier than the other person. It's not that there's anything more virtuous about that person, they're just in a different situation. But your circumstances, if they're favourable and you're pretty much happy with them, then you're not going to want change as much. A 45-year-old person who's managed to take early retirement because they've earned so much money, they've got £500,000 in the bank, their mortgage is completely paid off, they've got a generous pension. You talk about change, life change, you're like, why would I want to do that? I've got it all now. And yet there may well be things in their life where they really want to see them changed. The problem is, it would impinge on all that other stuff. And that's where the conflict comes. I want that, but I want that as well. And what we find it difficult to do is to realise that sometimes we have to say no to one thing in order to take hold of another. It's like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. We want to hold on sometimes to resentment and to bitterness. We don't want to let it go, but we want to be free. It's like you can't do both. You have to let go. You can't have both. Okay? So the way that you feel about your life will determine your ability to change. If you're quite satisfied with your life, then that's going to make it harder for you to change. That doesn't mean to say you should be dissatisfied, by the way. It just means it's harder. Okay, that's all I'm saying. There's no judgment about that. It's just the reality. The second thing is you'll only do things that require change if you're persuaded that the things that you might do will achieve the change you want. Okay? You know, it might take a lot of work to do something, but if you're convinced that doing X, Y, and Z, the work that it might take, is going to accomplish the thing that you want, then you're going to be prepared to do that to achieve that change. But here's what often happens: we think, you know, I'd love to see change in this area, that area of my life, and but that I'm not sure that really will achieve anything. And so, for example, we all know the right answer to this question, right? Well, I'll tell you what the answer is, so you don't guess the wrong answer that I'm looking for. That is this, okay? Yeah, if you want to see change, where do you begin? Pray, right? We all know that. Just pray. You've got to pray. But often, we don't really believe that prayer is going to achieve a great deal, so we don't pray that much about things. We'll be a lot more active in trying to sort problems out ourselves than actually coming to the one who has all power, who is able. That's true, isn't it? So we often we're not persuaded that the means for change are actually going to accomplish the thing that we desire. Okay? So we're not likely to change if we're satisfied with our lives, or it's much harder to. We're not likely to do the things that will achieve change if we're not persuaded that they will achieve the change that we might desire. What I'm saying there is we basically weigh up the cost. Is it worth the effort? Is it going to achieve what I want to achieve? And the third change defeater, that means you're doomed to not change if you don't deal with this or if you're not aware of it, is the weighing up of the cost in a slightly different way. That is, often to make the change does mean losing certain things. Okay, so it's just like, you know, you're travelling down the road, you come to a fork on one road, it's got all the things that you've already got that you value. The other road leads to where you want to go, but it doesn't have the things that you've got. So what do? Often we settle for better the devil that you know. And so we stay where we are, we end up not changing. One of the biggest issues, and all of these are the same in many ways, it's just been put differently. One of the biggest issues is, and challenges for change, is our love of leisure and pleasure. And that is why, you'll have noticed this probably, the older you get, the harder it is to change. Okay, and one of the reasons that it's not just habit, what it is as we grow up, you know, when we're very young, we've got all our life ahead of us, and we have all our ideas about what we want to achieve, and then what do? We start to work to achieve those things, and if we're okay, and if we're fairly stable in life and we keep at it, we begin to achieve some of those things. Maybe not all that we wanted to, but bit by bit, we achieve a bit more, and our levels of comfort in life gradually increase. And we've got, so that we've got our routines and our leisures, and we've got things that we want, and maybe life's not perfect. You know, the things that you get excited about change, don't they? Okay? Here's what was exciting for me. When I was 14 years old, meeting up with my mates at the park, pulling out of my bag my bottle of Merry Down cider. Yes! Oh God! And they pull out their bag, they got like, someone's got a bottle of vodka or something like that. And we're going to neck the lot that night. It's like, yes, we've got our drink, we've got everything, you know. Game on! And that was really exciting. Now, someone pulls out a bottle of Merry Down, I'm thinking, oh my God. Really? You know, holds no thrill for me whatsoever. It's because at that time of life, it's like, this is one of the most exciting things. But as you grow older, you begin to realise there's much better things in life than getting absolutely hammered on Merry Down cider and laying in your vomit because you can't even move by the end of the night. The room's spinning. I'm never going to do this again until the next weekend. But you learn, don't you? And so the older that we get, the more we appreciate comfort. Let me tell you something else about, so change gets harder. And here's another reason why change gets harder. What happens, one of the things that happens when you get older, okay, particularly, some of you don't know this yet, but you're going to know it, when you hit 40. something happens. Okay? I had to start wearing these things. I hit 40 and something started happening with my eyes. They weren't working as well as they used to. As we get older, our vision diminishes. It's a sign of aging. Okay? Things aren't as clear and vivid and crisp as they were. So you have to start wearing glasses or contact lenses or whatever. Okay? And at a spiritual level, it's the same. We stop having visions, seeing what could be. We stop seeing it. You know, a bunch of teenagers, you suggest some possibilities, and it might mean selling a few bits and taking off to the other side of the country or the other side of the world, and they're like, whoa, that's really exciting. But when you get older, it's like, I really can't be bothered, it's not that exciting. As we get older, we lose vision. And so, when the possibility of change is set before us, it's like, I can't quite see it, and this is far more comfortable, and I quite like, things the way they are. These are all defeaters for change. Now, like I said, this is an introductory message, but we're going to look just for a few moments at what this verse means. The first thing that we're just going to do is think about sort of retranslating it a little bit, okay? Because what's happening, verse 36 particularly is what we're looking at. That's obviously an English translation, okay? And it was written originally in Greek. And when it was written in Greek, if you used to translate it word for word, you would actually get the sense of what it's saying. You know what it's saying. But it doesn't, it's like bad English. Okay? So when they translate it, they do two things. They transliterate it first. In other words, they do like a word for word translation. And then they rearrange the words because in Greek their order of words is different. And it would say something like, glory whom be, amen. From him, blah, blah, it's sort of messing the structure around. So they restructure it so it makes sense to us. And then what they often do is they change the words because they don't work the same way in English. Okay? Now, the thing is, in all that translating, something always gets lost. Okay? But we don't lose everything. So we get most of the meaning of that verse is still there. And when you read other parts in the Bible, other parts kind of give us the general overview, as it were, so we get the main meaning. But something does get lost a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to tell you exactly what that word says, or a closer translation, or transliteration, and you'll see why they've translated it the way they have. The word for from him, the word from in Greek is ex, E-X, where we get the word exit. And a transliteration would be out of him. Out of. That is exactly what it's saying. Okay? So it's not just saying, so from him loses a little bit of that, does it? It's saying for out of him. Everything has come out of him. Literally out of him, ultimately. Because, if you think about it, God created everything out of nothing. So there wasn't anything except for himself. So everything somehow has come out of him. Okay, that's the first slight change that to get the full sense of what it's saying. And when it says through him, in Greek it would say, and other translations would say this, by him. Okay, so out of him and by him. In other words, he's the one that did it. Okay, it didn't just come out of him. Like when you sneeze and something comes out. Not like that. It didn't just happen. He did it. He did it. There was intentionality. So it came out of him, by him. He is the agency, the agent that did it. And the word for him is better translated or more closely translated to him. Okay? So you could rewrite the verse, and it's a perfectly legitimate translation, but the English isn't so good, so they smoothed it out. So but you could put, for out of him and by him and to him are all things, to whom be glory forever. Amen. Okay? So we're going to think just a little bit about what that means. That we're out of Him, by Him, and to Him are all things. So all things that includes us. That obviously includes all of creation. It's all for His glory. All comes out of Him and all to Him. Now, in this series, the title is this, Made for Glory. And we can think of that and think, that sounds good. The idea of, and here's what we will naturally think, me getting glory somehow. I'm going to be involved in glory. Yeah? But actually that to Him means that the glory terminates on Him, not on me. In other words, we're made for glory for His glory. And when Paul writes to Timothy, in 1 Timothy, he talks about the qualifications for an elder and a deacon. And one of the things is this, not a new convert. Okay? If you're a new convert, you cannot be an elder or a deacon. And then it gives the reason why. Because he might fall into the trap of the devil. In other words, he might get puffed up with pride. See, you take a new convert and put them in that sort of position, then what happens is they think, whoa, get all puffed up with pride because they see it as for my glory. Hey, I'm someone important. I'm someone special. And that is the trap of the devil. Remember the devil. What corrupted him? His desire for glory himself. And so what happens is, our corruption and sin, it distorts the very purposes of our existence and the very purpose of creation. So that what happens is, we all have a desire for glory. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're made for glory. But in our fallenness, that gets twisted and turned around so that the glory that we seek terminates on us rather than on God. Okay? So now I just wanted to point that out because although it terminates on God, it involves us and God reveals His glory through us. Okay? And when I say made for glory, you could put it like this as well. We are made for more. Made for more. Okay? Let me sum that up like this, okay? When you think about the things that excite you, okay? How many of you like a bit of adrenaline? Do you like a good adrenaline rush, yeah? Yeah, some of you, okay? Is it just 3 people? Put your hand right up, don't be ashamed. Nothing wrong with a bit of adrenaline. Yeah, something that really gets your blood pumping. You know, our desire for adrenaline. And there are all sorts of things that create adrenaline in us, right? So, for example, it might be standing on the top of a mountain and looking at a breathtaking sight, and it makes the heartbeat and everything else. It might be that the thing that gets the adrenaline going is being absolutely terrified. That's why some people like watching horror movies. It gets the blood pumping, and you know, whatever it is. Okay, there's all sorts of things. It might be that you like the thrill of fairground rides, the speed, the risk, the danger, right? It all gets the blood pumping, the heart, and makes you feel alive. It might be that you like seeing fighter jet aeroplanes, low flying. It's just the power, isn't it? It's amazing. You see the power, you feel the vibration. It's even like that if you go to a concert. I used to love standing right next to the bass speakers at reggae concerts. You know, they're booming. I used to love that feeling of the bass going right through your body. Now we can slice this and dice this in all sorts of ways, but all of that tells us something. We were made to experience power and glory and for our hearts to be thrilled. We're made for it. Every time we think, I want to go on that ride, I want to do this, and I want to twist that throttle right back. Do you know what that is? It's a desire for God. That's what it is. It's your heart yearns for and is made for something greater than anything this life actually gives us. Because whatever thrills we experience, after a while, if we experience them enough, they become a little bit dull, don't they? They start to lose their edge. Yeah, I remember the first time I went, I think it's called the detonator. I always thought they should call it the cardiac arrest. This is a ride that you go on, okay? It's not a huge ride or anything like that, but it's that ride where it's got like a pole and it's got seats around it, and you all sit down, it goes up, and it drops down. You know one? Have you been on it? Okay, if you've not been on it, the first time you go on it, after that it's a bit boring because you know what's coming, but the first time you go on it, it's like, it drops and you can't even breathe. You know, it's like, oh, what's happening to me? And your whole body is just trying to deal with the experience. And you get down, you get to the bottom, you feel, I want to do it again. I want to do it again. And the next time it's nowhere near as good because you know what's coming and the thrill's gone. And it's like that. The other one, that one at Thorpe Park, the stealth, isn't it? 0 to 80 in 3-point-something seconds. Who's been on that? Okay, yeah. Okay, that's a great ride, isn't it? Especially the first time you go, because you're like, if you've got your hands in, you get your hands in the air, yeah? No, hold it on. It's like, goodness me. But after you've been on it a few times, it kind of, again, begins to lose its edge. You see, that tells us, though, all of that desire that we've got for excitement and thrill, that is your desire for God. And what we do is we've got this desire, we try and find it in this or in this or in this. Okay? And we kind of run into a problem in that when we don't realise that that is a desire for God. Now there's nothing wrong in getting thrilled by those things because from Him are all things. That fairground ride, all things are from Him. I mean, how did that fairground ride come about? Okay? It's easy. God created everything and He created us. He made us creative. So He gave us our creativity, and with our creativity, we've taken them with raw materials God's given. We've created these things that thrill us. It all comes from Him, doesn't it? And so we can enjoy those things rightly when we get off of that ride and we say, God, You've done all things well. This life that You've given and the way that You've made us, this is amazing. And it's a glimpse and a glimmer of Him who is glorious. Making some sense? See, we're made for glory. There's glory in all sorts of other ways. I was thinking of my time last week was hugely truncated. Okay, so it was like squished down. If I'd have had time, I'd have shown you. There's a couple of clips on to show you. One is from Saving Private Ryan. Have you seen that film? There are some moments in that film where you see men of outstanding valour and courage. Okay, you just think, I'd like to be like that. Yeah, I have that sort of courage. Heroes, isn't they? If you've seen Lord of the Rings, there's that part in it where Boromir, you know, anyone, there's no point even telling you if you've seen the film. Okay, there's one part where Boromir, he's trying to protect the Frodo and some of his friends against all these, I can't remember what they're called now, Orcai, the big ones, Orcai. And the Frodo and his mates they've done a runner. Pippin and Merry and Pippin have done a runner. And they've not got completely away, and they look back and they see Boromir just fighting off these orcs, loads of them. And then the camera goes to one orc and pulls his bow, and there's Boromir fighting away and releases an arrow. It hits Boromir straight in the chest and he carries on fighting, and then you see him draw the bow again, another one. But you see it plummet into his chest, and he carries on battling, and then another and another. He's got like 6 or 7 arrows, and he's on his knees trying to fight off these, and in the end, he falls. You think, wow, 4 to the last. And we watch things like that on television, on films, and that, and we think, and we see something great, right? And it causes something in us to rise up. We want to be better people. We want to be glorious. We have a desire to be glorious. Why? Because we're made in His image. He is glorious. He is glorious. And so, as we think about this, as we're going to go into this series, what I want to say to you is this. The reason why I talked about the thing about change is this series and God's Word has power to change us and make us more the people that He's created us to be. You were made for more than one day. Far more than the things that we settle for. We're made for more. Not for our glory, but in it we will reveal His glory. Just like Boromir, that courage, that reflects something of a glorious God. Because who is it? Who is the captain of our faith? Who is the one that fought the good fight ultimately? It's the Lord Jesus. He went out, and He did battle against Satan and against all the powers of darkness. Okay, and as He did that, this is our great hero. Okay, the build-up of this battle was from before the beginning of time. It was announced right at the beginning when God said to Adam and Eve, "I'll put enmity between you and the woman. He will strike your heel and you will crush his head or bruise his head." Okay? And that was right from the beginning, pointing to this time that this person's going to come and there's going to be this showdown. And so Jesus is our hero, he's our warrior, who stands there to take on all the powers of darkness, everything that they've got to throw. But not only that, it's like he's about to engage in this battle, but he has put upon him, not only is he about to fight, but he's stripped of all power. All power. Nothing. He said, "Do you not realise I could call on my Father and He'd send a league of angels?" Jesus could have spoken a word and smitten everyone and everything. But He didn't. In absolute weakness, He let them strip Him naked and beat Him and flog Him. And then at the same time, as about to engage in this battle, He had put upon His shoulders the weight of the sin of the world. And with that, all those feelings of guilt, failure, fear, regret, everything somehow just channeled, all this bad stuff channeled into Him. And there, in that, you cannot be weaker than that. And in His weakness, He stepped out and defeated the powers of darkness. And it's an amazing, we miss so much in that passage, in those passages. I love it when He's in Gethsemane. I know I've told you this before, but I love this perspective. There He is in Gethsemane praying, and it's like sweat's coming out of Him like blood. The disciples are asleep, and no one knows what He's about to go through, but He knows what's coming. And the soldiers come, and when they come, they ask, as they come, and Jesus steps out to them and says, "Who is it you've come for?" Think of that courage. If that was any of us, we would be over the wall, wouldn't we? Running for our lives, knowing what's coming. He steps out. "Who have you come for?" And they say, this is a whole crowd of soldiers. There they are, full of their, whipped up into a frenzy of violence and Jesus. And Jesus says, "I am He." Just says those words. You know what it says, don't you? When He said those words, they drew back and fell to the ground. Somehow. But there was power in Him. But then He says this. He says, "I told you that I am He. Leave these alone," He says. In other words, you can take me, but you can't have them. And then they kind of come in like wolves. In other words, He gives them permission. And here's how I understand it. This is what I think is happening. If you've ever been in a context where there's a lot of sort of violence, there's violence in the air, isn't there? You've been in that situation, and there may not be a fight, but it's not going to take much. It's that atmosphere, right? And I think it's a demonic atmosphere. The powers of darkness have just whipped people up, and everyone's ready to go, right? And I think that's what it was like. You can imagine all the powers of darkness concentrated at that place, right? Can you imagine that atmosphere? Vile, foul atmosphere. of violence. And there they are, they're all ready for it. And then when Jesus says, I am he, the powers of darkness that are all gathered there, whipping up this frenzy, suddenly they're faced by the great I am, and they flee. And the soldiers fall back on the floor. The thing that was compelling them is gone. So it was like, what are we doing here almost? But Jesus says, I've told you, I am he. Let them go. And then they're like given permission. They come for it, they take it. And they know that Jesus is being handed over. You know, just to give you another sort of parallel perspective on this, it's a bit like Job. When Satan is there in the courts of heaven, and God says, have you seen my servant Job? There's no one like him. And what does Satan do? Satan says, let me at him. Let me at him, and we'll see if he honours you there. And God says, you can take from him everything he's got, but you can't lay a hand on him. Right? So what happens is God gives Satan permission to do stuff. And then he does his stuff, and then the next, we get the second round, don't we? And Job says, and God says, well, he didn't dishonour me as you said, and Satan said, well, let me touch his skin, let me at him. Let me actually hurt him, and then we'll see. And God says, very well, you can do it, but you can't take his life. And so the powers of darkness come in, and they do the terrible things they do. With Jesus, though, the difference is, God said to Satan, he's all yours. Completely. Do whatever you like. No prohibitions, no bars, nothing. You can do anything you like to. Completely given over. That's what Jesus did. He said, I am he. Don't take them. And so they come and they do what they do. And so Jesus, with the full weight of sin and guilt, he did battle in absolute weakness and somehow defeated them all. And that is why there's something about us that wants to be a fighter, that wants to take a stand, that wants to be courageous, isn't there? Not necessarily. I mean, it might not be. There's maybe your personality is the sort of person that says, "Oh no, not me." But there's something you admire it, right? There's something about taking a hit for others. Something wonderful about that. Our desire for glory is because we're made in the image of God who is glorious. And the thing is, he has made us to be something like that. And that is why it's a tragedy for all of us, to the degree that we just settle for the things that this world offers with a little bit of Jesus thrown in, just to keep our lives, we're going to be going to heaven, we're pie in the sky when you die, and we kind of settle for that. God's made us for more. So as we get into this, over the next few weeks, don't let those defeaters rob you of the good that God's got. Don't let it rob you. Who knows what the Lord would do? There was one defeater I didn't mention actually, and I'll mention that and then we'll close. I did mention it, but I just want to underline it. Here's the thing. We think that if the things that are required aren't going to achieve the desired, then we're not going to do it. Okay, that tends to be how we think. And we can imagine then that for us as individuals in our lives, and for us as a church, that when we look back, the way that it's been is the way it's always going to be. That nothing really changes around here. And maybe you've started to believe that. Nothing much really changes. Everything just kind of goes on as it is. But I want to say, we've been made for more. And this verse is a game changer. Completely. Because we've been made for his glory. And I actually didn't speak on the 3 key things I was going to. I'll save that for next week. Is it next week? Yeah. Which is thinking about out of him, to him, or by him, and to him. And we'll see why that changes everything. But for now, let's pray. Lord, we